Month late. Better late than never.
October 1st, giant.
All right. I'm going to call the meeting of the Housing and Economic Development Committee for Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 to order. It is 3:04 p.m. My apologies for a few minutes being tardy, but I want to see if there's any changes to the agenda by members. Mike Sigler.
Yeah, there is. I missed the last meeting. The member filed resolution. I think we've pretty much covered the homeward bound. I think it's a good idea. It didn't get a lot of support, but apparently the county already does something along these lines. But something I'll keep looking into and maybe bring back a different proposal that would be more acceptable to folks. But I didn't see a lot of support for it at the first meeting.
Okay. So if it's without objection, we'll remove the resolution Homeward Bound Reunification Program submitted by Legislator Sigler, ID number 13472. Seeing no objection, we'll take that one off of the agenda. And just to highlight, at the last meeting, there was quite an extensive conversation around this from our Department of Social Services and how they are already and have been and have a long history of supporting individuals with reunification in home cities or destinations where they may have a greater support system or, higher success chances, more of a warm welcome for that individual, and they take quite great lengths to make sure that they're setting an individual up for success. What I don't want people to think is our intention with this conversation was not to ship people out of Ithaca, right? We don't want to commoditize people that way, but to make sure that we're getting people to a place where they have the highest success possible. So just wanted to make sure that was clear and on the record. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Taylor, any public comment today? Okay, no public comment. We have the minutes approval, the minutes of September 3rd. I take a motion by Ann, second by Veronica. Any discussion, suggestions, edits, corrections? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Yeah.
All those still in favor?
All those in favor?
All those still in favor? Okay. We've got 6 in favor. We do all have all members present, so we will be voting by a show of hands. I do not have a chair's report, but do have some chair's questions when we get down to homeless and housing updates, so I'll reserve that time. We'll go to the county administrator's report. I see we've got Bridget on Zoom.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. No significant updates from county administration. We're just moving quickly towards establishing the Code Blue shelter for this season. And we're working with our selected partner, Volunteers of America, to initiate the emergency shelter build project, as well as hopefully have them as an operator for Code Blue as well.
Great. Any questions for Bridget or also Brittany and Dina on the topic? As it relates to emergency shelter, Code Blue, I guess, Mike, we feel like we're making progress. We're at good timing.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, we're on track for opening for Code Blue season. Okay.
And the Code Blue shelter, just to reiterate, is going to be
at the Cherry Street location.
At the Cherry Street location, the former Found building. Ann?
Yeah, thanks for the update. So what's the date that you think you'll be able to be open?
November 15th.
Great.
November?
November.
Okay, thank you.
And that's in line with previous years' sort of start date? Okay.
Yes.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So before that, if we have
Hotels.
temperatures drop below that, we'll put people in hotels. I just wanted to say the whole thing out to the public.
Yes, in that intermittent period where the weather could be higher or lower in temperature, we will continue to monitor the daily temperature, and we will put folks in hotels until the Found site, or Cherry Street site, is officially open.
Yeah, one more. If I know for me, I'd like to get a tour. I don't know who would arrange that too. When it's close to
Yes,
when you think it's a good time.
you can do that.
Yeah,
Thank you for all the work.
I would suggest extending an invite to the full legislature.
Absolutely.
To see. and would even suggest our city common council partners as well, just to try to, continue to support the collaborative relationship. Deborah?
This isn't a question. I just wanted to compliment Brittany on the reports that her staff gave at our last meeting. That was exceptionally helpful, and I really appreciated how dedicated they are to their jobs.
Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, those were great presentations. Thanks for mentioning that, Deborah. Any other comment? So, Bridget, I guess is there a timeline, or when do we know for sure what, how do I say it? What the plan's going to be with our provider, or is there a target date to have things wrapped up?
In terms of finalizing a contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hopeful that that happens in the next couple of weeks. So by mid-October, we would have a finalized contract, but we are in active discussions with them, and that is the plan.
Okay. All right, great. A question about the Cherry Street location. Were we able to get shower facilities?
Yes.
In that plan, and those will be up and moving by the 15th?
Yes.
Or roughly thereabouts?
I think those might be a little delayed, like until end of November, early December.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
They might be a little delayed. I don't have a solid answer for you. Facilities has been able to get into the site in the interim while the tenant is still in there to do some work.
Okay.
So as we know more, we can keep you updated.
Great. Hey, Travis?
If that ends up being the case, the GRC would be willing to do showers again in the morning for that time period. I just need about a week's notice to set it up.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks, Bridget. If there's something else that comes up, we'll give you a shout.
Great, thank you.
I guess we'll continue, with our homeless and housing update. And Brittany and Dina, while you're here, well, I guess I'll turn it over to you, and then also invite Liddy for a chance as well at some point in the conversation. Anything to report?
Do you have shelter?
I have them from a couple days ago.
Okay.
So I have shelter numbers from a couple days ago. Sorry, let me find my notes. Sorry, I have a lot of meeting notes.
That's okay. I'm looking at your notes. I'm like,
I can
wow.
go first.
Okay. All right, so I got it. So adults, we had 43 families, 3 families with 3 children. And at hotels, in county, we had a total of 29 plus two people placed out of county. And we've maybe moved another family out since my numbers, so we keep moving families into housing.
That's great. Do those numbers seem in line, or do they seem a little low for this time of year?
The family numbers are definitely low, so because we've been moving people into housing. It's lower than in previous years. I can go back and look at last year's numbers to compare for this time of year, but so we're running closer to, I think, 70 total, and I think in the past it's been as high as 100, so yeah.
Okay. Travis?
Do you think I'll probably say it wrong, the 1115 waiver has helped get people off the list?
That's, I don't know that it may help people stop preventing people from going into shelter. I'm not sure, I haven't heard anything directly about it's helping moving anyone out of shelter, but I think it's having a preventive effect.
What's 1115 again?
Oh, there's a special waiver through Medicaid where they'll pay for short-term rent. I think it's up to 6 months as part of, what is it? It's not, anyway, there's some special thing within Medicaid. I can't think of the word.
That's
It'll
okay.
cover things like transportation and housing and those sort of things to help support people's health.
Liddy can also speak.
Health indicators, that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Community health indicators.
1115 waiver is also, I think, what helps some individuals pay for gadabout and and
Yes,
things like that.
It helps cover transportation also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Veronica?
Deanie, you said something about 2 people, was it placed out of county or moved out of county? Can
Yeah,
you, I may have misheard, and can you say what that means?
So we have a couple individuals who hotels in this county will no longer house them because of past behavior, so they have to be placed in a hotel out of county. And then Brittany has more demographic data that she was going to share.
Great.
Yeah. It was asked for a couple of meetings ago, or no, when we gave our presentation, it was asked for the data on the families that we've moved out of roadway into permanent housing. So children in the families that are under one years old that have moved into housing are five individuals. 2 to 5 years old, 12 individuals. 6 to 10 years old, 10 individuals. 11 to 14, 3 individuals. 15 to 18, 2 individuals. And 19 to 21, 1 individual. And then the breakdown in gender is 20 females, 13 males, and race, this is self-reported. We have 5 families who self-identified as Black, 10 families who self-identified as Black and white, and 18 families who self-identified as white. Or individuals, I'm sorry, not families, individuals, children.
So those counts are just children. It doesn't include a parent or guardian who may be with that child, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And it would be the parent
Yeah,
at the certain age reporting for the child.
got it. Any questions on the demographic information? Do you look at all and compare this and see any, is it disproportionate to the makeup of the county? Is there any analysis that's being done at
Trends.
at that level, trends to see if there are barriers for various groups or?
So up to this point, the department hasn't looked at that in an overall picture. That is something that we're starting to implement to make sure, to go back to like equitable service delivery, to make sure that our services are equitable, that they're matching the makeup of the county, that we're reaching the people that they should be reaching.
Okay, that's
So
great.
that's something we're starting to discuss and implement for the equity indicators.
Awesome, okay. Questions on that information? It's good information to have, and if we're tracking it, we can trend it. And so as long as we're capturing it, I think it'll help us in the long run, and it's nice to hear it being tied back to our equity indicators and some of our strategic priorities and strategic operations plan. So, thank you.
I had
Ann?
Just an overall question. I don't know if it's for you or Bridget. Have we heard anything from the city regarding their interest in still doing a navigation hub? Because I know from the county's point of view, we're hoping they would consider doing one on the property.
Correct. I have not, from a DSS perspective.
I see that Bridget and Corsa are both on.
I see Corsa.
Happy to put you back on the spot.
Have we heard anything from the city regarding their interest in, or willingness to do a navigation hub at the Cherry Street site?
Not to date. My understanding is they're going to reestablish their encampment working group and decide their next steps from there.
Okay, thank you.
I also want to add that Dominic did express to me their commitment to the project. And in line with what Bridget said, they did not specifically talk about Cherry Street to me, but they are committed to the overall outcome, and they will continue to work with us in terms of the steps moving forward. Whole Health Environmental Department have extended the request the city made for the time for them to meet the requirements. So that process is also ongoing. So we will continue to engage them and have a conversation with them as to how we move forward together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do think it's important for all of us as elected officials and legislators to reach out to other elected officials within the city. If, this is a topic that we're passionate about, even if it's not your district, and just try to hear from them what, some of their thoughts and ideas are, and try to build those individual bridges and relationships so that the burden solely doesn't rest on county administrator, or the county administration, DSS, our planning department, or, legislature leadership. Because I think the best way for us to get solutions and all on the same page is if we're working together and being collaborative as electeds as well. So that's something I'm going to try to work on individually, and would encourage everybody to do that as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corsa. Liddy, did you have any items to report?
I don't have like a proper report necessarily, but I do want to continue my advocacy day that I've been having today, and just kind of like let the room know about some of the like real threats that are facing permanent supportive housing and continuums of care specifically at this time. There are some threats there, specifically, the changes are mostly ideological in nature and have to do with whether or not HUD will be willing to fund communities who don't share the Trump administration's ideology around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also things like sanctuary city and some other technical details. So there's a lot happening in the advocacy world right now. I do think I'm sort of like raising the alarm just a little here in Tompkins County that it's probably worth our time to start having some conversations about what infrastructure do we have and what are our resources if $1.6 million a year of federal funds used to support people who are exiting homelessness leave our community, right? Like, I know there's a lot of things happening. There's lawsuits, there's advocacy happening at all different levels, but I do think the time is here to start thinking about forecasting what some of these impacts could look like locally. We have 205 units of permanent supportive housing in our community. There are probably 35 employees at those places at minimum. There's just a lot to think about. The other sort of ideological change that's being applied to the way these HUD funds can be administered is that I think, as you guys are all aware, for many years, continuums of care have been using evidence-based solutions, including things like Housing First and permanent supportive housing. And the new HUD ideology includes this treatment first model. So they are prioritizing only projects that require treatment before entry, substance use disorder treatment, which is short-sighted in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is that the majority of people who are experiencing chronic homelessness are not currently necessarily in active addiction, but they are people with disabilities, people who are aging, families with children. And this rule impacts them all equally, right? So whether or not you have a substance use disorder, it's kind of like you have to go through this treatment modality before you can be served with housing. It also takes away the permanency of permanent housing and puts a 2-year time limit on any projects. So we here in Tompkins County do not, from my perspective, from where I bird's eye view, are not equipped to handle locally the impact of these kinds of changes yet. And so I think because we are missing things like detox, so like it's whatever, I don't want to go down a big, we won't push Liddy's rant button, but because we're missing some certain pieces of the continuum of care that we would like to see in a community, we would be already behind, right? We do not have adequate treatment beds. We don't have adequate behavioral health units, and we would likely see a rise in homelessness combined with a reduction in resources, like all at the same time. So just I'd like to talk more. I think I'll follow up by sending the recording of our homeless and housing task force meeting this morning, where we had someone from Supportive Housing Network of New York come in and share some information. I'll pass that along to you all, and some fact sheets about what that looks like in Tompkins County. But it's time to really start having these conversations. That's all. Thank you.
Well, your rant has sparked everyone's hand to go up.
Sorry, I can't see anyone but you.
Well, and my bright orange
He's
shirt
kind
today.
of blinding.
Yeah, I failed the test to wear the committee color last month. So I've got Deborah, Travis, Mike, Ann, Veronica will take a turn, and,
Yeah, hey,
and
why
then I
not?
have a question. So
All right, it's a party.
we'll start with Deborah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Liddy. A few weeks ago, I can't remember in what context, Greg had mentioned we needed to start planning for what's coming at us. And I think information from stakeholders like yourself would be helpful. I think maybe the county should think about putting together some kind of task force. Not that I really want to have another meeting to attend, but I think people like yourself who have their finger on the pulse of what could go wrong, what the measure of need is in the community, what our resources would actually look like if we got cut off. These are the kind of facts that we ought to be sitting down and putting together and trying to make a plan to be ready for that. So I'm on board.
Thanks, me too.
Travis?
Yeah, I agree with Deb. Liddy, I thought for the HUD grants that you can't even apply if your agency's in a sanctuary city, county, or state.
Yeah, so it's complicated. I'll try to make this very simple. But so in 2024, there was the first, Congress approved a 2-year continuum of care cycle for us. So we were not supposed to have a competition. Normally, continuums of care run a pretty highly competitive local competition where we look at system performance and data and all this stuff, prioritize, and that's how we pull down the money from HUD. It's really labor intensive. So for years, continuums of care have been saying, put us on a 2-year cycle and let us really dig into the work so we don't have to do this every year. So we thought we had our 2-year cycle. Then when the administration changed, they let us know that, in fact, even though Congress had approved those 2 years of funding, we were going to have to run a competition for the second year of funding, which has already been approved. It includes projects like Tompkins Community Action, OAR has a project, a DV project, a whole bunch of youth projects anyway. So we know, all we know at this time is that we are going to have to run a competition for that second year. Sort of meanwhile, there was this other funding competition called COC Builds, which was a once in a lifetime funding opportunity that HUD put out in 2024 and then took back twice. And on its the third time they reissued the funding competition, instead of it being a narrative or have any data or system performance measures, they put out a checklist. It was first come, first served. And they put out a checklist, and it was 13 items, and you had 7 days, and you had to be able to say yes to all these things. And so you could not apply. If you could not say yes to your city, county, or state not being a sanctuary city, you couldn't apply. There's a section called Reaffirming Reality and Fairness that said if your community believes, basically only communities that believe that sex is immutable, male, female, binary, are eligible to apply. And so anybody who couldn't or wouldn't say yes to those 13 checklists were ineligible to apply, and New York State off the top was not eligible. So there is legal action happening about that. What makes us nervous is that there's the continuums of care across the country nervous, not us, is that there's a possibility that they'll use that same checklist for that round 2 of funding that Congress had already approved. Does that make sense? That was a lot of information.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
Doesn't make sense, but it is what it is.
Well, right. I mean, those are the facts. So, and there is a lawsuit right now that National Alliance to End Homelessness is involved with HUD related to the partisan nature of the COC Builds funding. When you did the math, like I am a nerd, so I went and looked at what states could potentially qualify. There were 11 of them, and they were 100% red. So only politically aligned states were even eligible to apply there, of the 50 states that could have been normally eligible.
Mike?
My question was something you kind of said before about treatment before housing. While I understand what you're saying, I mean, I'm being told our detox center and our mental health stabilization unit should be online early in 2026, if one of them by the end of the year. I mean, does that change the trajectory of what you're talking about? Because these things will be online.
Whether or not we have them doesn't change the trajectory from the federal perspective at all. They're on their own trajectory. In terms of how well our community and county responds, I think that that's a great start. I think that's great. I'm super excited to hear that because those are projects that I've been excited to hear about for years. I do think that though just adding a detox, it doesn't match the need that we have in our community for the permanent supportive housing stuff. So for some people, treatment is the right thing, but it actually is not the right thing for all people who are experiencing homelessness, because not all people who are experiencing homelessness have substance use disorder. So having a blanket rule doesn't really make sense. It'll help with the impact. It will not solve our housing problem. You know what I mean? So going to treatment is not currently and will not be in the future, even with that addition of the detox. Going to treatment is not a pathway into housing. They don't refer you into housing. Nothing new opens up for you at the end of detox in terms of housing. But I'm excited to hear about the detox. That's a great project.
It will take people off the street for 28 days, though.
Well, detox, I think, is shorter than that. Detox is usually 5 to 7 days. I guess I don't know what we're planning here. Inpatient treatment would be 28.
Longer term one.
A week.
If your insurance, so the other thing that, like, real talk we should probably think about is that the majority of people who are going to be entering into detox or treatment and are experiencing homelessness, so in this cutout of our population of people, are currently people who are Medicaid members. So when we consider the potential for cuts to Medicaid compounding with their needs, this is why we need to have a group that plans, right? Because this is unprecedented. So I don't know the answers to everything. I think every little bit helps. But people will need Medicaid to go. Right now, Medicaid decides how long you stay in treatment, not your doctor.
Oh, you're saying that the impossible.
Right.
Got it. Ann?
Having flashbacks to when I worked in inpatient treatment, and gosh, that was, I want to say like 20 years ago, at least. And even then, people, their insurance companies would call and say they're done with treatment.
Yeah.
Or they had to leave, after a day or two because they initially got accepted, but then they got denied after some other person at the health insurance company looked at it. And yes, and finding housing for people, that really wasn't our job, when people left. So they would go through detox. And, this is, I understand if people are ready for treatment, right, they go into detox if they need it, which a lot of people do. And then they need to go right into treatment. So you need to have treatment available. And then you need to have some insurance or somebody paying for that. And then you need to have housing and aftercare set up, otherwise they're not going to be successful. And I'm hearing what you're saying, that they're mandating, the current mandate is going to take effect, or do you know when that's going to be, that everybody?
I think we're going to know more when the government unshuts down because opens, I guess, is that. So we will find out when HUD gives us when the notice of funding opportunity for that year of funding comes, is when we're going to know what the rules really are. Right now, there was an article that came out in Politico that was like well cited and credible, that has given us a pretty good understanding of what they're planning to put in that notice of funding opportunity. But because there's no information, these are all just sort of things that we have been able to see from patterns coming from HUD so far.
Okay.
Or outright statements that they've made.
But if we don't get funding, we don't have to mandate everybody go in to detox.
No.
But then we have to house them at our expense.
Well, if we're not getting money, we're not getting money.
That's right.
So that's something folks to lobby our federal government for, so that everybody, or participate in these lawsuits or whatever we can do to make sure that this is equitable for people around the country. And I don't suppose that you've heard of any money coming from the federal government for this mandated treatment and detox?
No.
Okay, that was almost rhetorical, but I just wanted to check on that. Thank you. And I agree, as other folks have said, about setting up a task force as soon as possible to deal with that. We also have, food and other things to deal with, so maybe we can plan on how those, if it's a different task force or different parts of task force, to work on that for the next couple of years. Thank you, Liddy.
Thank you.
Veronica?
Yeah, maybe this bounces off of Annie's question. And I only raised my hand because Greg was looking at me to get the full, what do you call it? But I do want to thank you for the meeting this morning that I went to. That was helpful. I know Bridget and Brittany and Dina were all there. I just as I guess a comment for the announced or potential federal requirements to affirm this, that, and the other to get any funding. I don't think we should do that. And I mean, I don't hear anyone suggesting it, and it sounds like the details aren't worked out, but like I guess I want to reaffirm, we should not sell out the dignity of our residents, among other things, for some capricious federal requirements based in not evidence, as you say. The question is there, what is my question? Like in this shifted landscape, are there, I guess, like communication structures like a task force, I don't know, that could be helpful, that people on the legislature could be part of, or that like would link into, say, county government and this committee on some level to plan for what's coming or to prepare against this potentially horrific time we're going into?
I don't really totally know the answer to that. My guess is probably yes. It's interesting because there's so much happening that I can imagine from like a legislative perspective. You guys are really being pulled in a lot of directions, right? And it is hard to nail down at like a state or national level what the point person is, like where, especially like decision maker power is best concentrated. I will look into it a little bit and get back to you. I will say that just sort of in general right now, National Alliance to End Homelessness and National Low Income Housing Coalition are kind of co-leading the charge in terms of getting out information widely and offering like lots of like really easy ways to like write your people and do all that. But I'll look into where decision makers are really focusing for this issue right now. Gillibrand's office loves to talk if you want to give them a call.
Thank you. That is helpful. And I guess I'm also interested just on the, like, in the local level within our community, how do we, maybe this is just a rhetorical, conceptual question.
Come to Continuum of Care meetings, read my boring, scary emails. I will do my very best to keep people as updated as they want to be. I do think one of the most, like, it is free to share information, right? It's a low cost thing that we can all do. And I know that I'm doing my best to get the information out to COC stakeholders. And I can even try to like amp that up a little bit. I try to avoid like barrage of information, but I think when you're thinking about housing cuts, specifically federal housing cuts, continuum of care across the country, not just here, are squarely targeted. And so I'll share out information that I have for you.
Okay, so continuum of care meetings are the place to be. And I did the housing, homelessness and housing task force it's hopping. There's a lot of people there. I mean, most of them are black Zoom boxes, but
and that is that's homeless and housing task force meets on the first Wednesday of odd numbered month, public meeting, free, open to anybody. And that's what we call the education and outreach arm of the continuum of care. So those are recorded. They are the way that we hold back time at least every other month to do this information dump for people. And I will post the recording of today as soon as I have it ready.
I saw Maury's hand. I have a comment, and then we're going to move off the topic. Maury, did you still have a hand up? You're muted.
Sorry, I pulled it down. I was just raising my hand to say I'm happy to look into the status and report back on the current state of that federal litigation that Liddy was talking about.
I appreciate that, and thank you. I would maybe survey my colleagues to see, I just looked back at our November 2024 agenda and what we sort of had on there. And there's a couple things that we could ask people if they're annual items to either submit a more robust memo and save some talk time. If we wanted to dedicate maybe an hour of this meeting in November, and Liddy, maybe we could work together offline and see if we could develop an update and then some talking points, maybe some decision points that need to be considered. You know, I think in collaboration with the Continuum of Care and DSS and how some of the federal changes coming down are going to impact housing and the Continuum of Care, et cetera. Does that sound like something we could do? And is that something that my colleagues have appetite for, to have a focused conversation rather than create a task force? Let's do program committee work in program committees until something greater is needed. Deborah?
Yeah, I think that we need to go a little beyond housing. I think that the key needs here are going to be food, housing, and medical care. So, you know, maybe in this committee we'll just focus on the housing piece, but I think going forward, we need to have a more robust level of participation with our stakeholders.
Yeah, and Brittany, don't feel free. You can chime in. You don't have to apologize. You can, you know, chime in. You're welcome.
I was just going to say, I think they're all so connected.
Yeah.
That having a conversation about them all is really important.
Maybe we could do a joint HHS, HED in November.
Okay. Maybe we can work on maybe a special or separate or something. We'll figure out some way to accommodate both business needs of both committees and have a longer conversation. But Travis, as the chair of HHS, we can try to coordinate something around those topics. So housing, food, and healthcare. Is there any other items that pertain to these topics? Ann?
Not to add that, but I was thinking a separate special meeting for this.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to combine it with that monthly meeting, are you?
So my original thought before a combined meeting was to focus on the items that our committees are tasked with. If we want to have a larger conversation, we can combine the meetings and maybe have a special joint committee meeting of both committees to address the issue. Or we can have a start of the conversation in one committee and we can have the rest of the conversation in another. I guess I would leave that up to maybe Travis and I, Liddy, Brittany, to figure out what the best mechanism to do that is if my colleagues have confidence in our ability to bring something like this together.
If we have a special meeting, we could do a joint meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have time,
Yeah.
to really delve into this as best we can, get some more information, because as Liddy said and others have said, sooner the better we start working on these things.
So maybe, oh, go ahead, Veronica.
I just wanted to, I totally like the joint committee meeting idea, whether it's like replacing or in addition to other meetings. And then I also want to be clear that that is a fundamentally different thing than what I was more talking about, which would have been grouping together not just county legislators with invitees, but anybody within not the government organization, but the physical area of Tompkins County who's involved in this work.
I see this as a step. We're sort of turning the volume up, right? Like we just put the needle to the record. We need to sort of get the tune right. And then I think we sort of expand and open it up to continue with that analogy. Because
DJs that we are.
Yeah. It's all just one big mashup, Deborah. I feel that we need to understand first before we can have a larger audience and conversation. So I would just prefer we take it in bites. Of course, I see you chimed back in. Is that okay direction?
Yes, it is an okay direction. I just wanted to put a bag in your ears as well, in line with all the exact conversation you're having, that I will be sending out the communication to all of you regarding our plan for the cold blue shelter and the possibility of getting a daytime drop-in open, which will require additional resource than cold blue allocation. So we are looking at the logistics of it, and there's a likelihood that if all the logistics line up, we will bring forward a discussion item on Tuesday for your consideration as well. So Craig, I'll reach out to you individually as the chair of the committee to talk to discuss that, and I anticipate possibly a member file item to support our cold blue plan because of the time constraints that we have.
Okay. Appreciate that update. Last chance on this topic. We're going to move on then. Brittany, Dina, thank you. You're welcome to go back without on your day, or you're welcome to sit here and enjoy the rest of a riveting meeting. Of course. Thank you. And next up, we've got our Planning and Sustainability Department with our Commissioner's October report. This is ID number 13578, and I would ask Katie Borgella to come and join the table with team or whoever else you have.
And give us a riveting report.
Oh, look at you, two color coordinated and.
Yeah, that was just for you. Yeah, thank you for noticing. Yeah, I'm joined here with my colleague, Shauna Stevenson, who is going to talk to you a little bit about a meeting that was held recently for municipal officials, to give you some information about it and kind of some key takeaways. Before she dives into that, though, I just wanted to share that Shauna and David West have been working hard on preparing. Every 2 years, we release the housing snapshot. The last time was based on 2022 data released in November of 23. This is going to be 2024 data, and we hope to bring that to you in December HED meeting. And as usual, it'll have all sorts of insights on housing trends and the status of housing in our community. A lot of work goes into that all year round, actually, collecting data and making sure that all the data makes sense and that we understand what's going on. So Shauna, do you want to tell them about the training, please?
Sure. So for some background, last year we were meeting with local municipal planners with the Housing Support for Municipal Planners project, and that was just to gauge what planners felt that municipalities could use and collaborate with each other for how to develop more housing in the county. And one of the projects that we agreed on was to coordinate a training for local planning and zoning board officials to learn more about how to allow more housing development in their area. So on September 18th, the department hosted a training at the Department of Whole Health in the Rice Conference Room, which was really nice, for planning and zoning board officials. It was called Making Room, Affordable Housing Decisions for Zoning and Planning Boards. The presenters include Paula Gilbert from the New York State Department of State and David West and myself from our department. The topics for presentation included a history of housing development in New York State, tools that planning and zoning boards can use to develop more housing in their municipalities, case law review, so examples of what is and isn't allowed when brought to court, and also resources that the county offers for municipalities and developers to assist with housing development in our area. And we had 26 people register and 15 attendees, which was great. It was a beautiful day. And they represented 10 municipalities, including the city of Ithaca, the towns of Ithaca, Danby, Enfield, Dryden, Ulysses, Lansing, and Caroline, and the village of Dryden and Freeville. And we just had people put like a red dot where they were from. So as you can see, maybe it's not showing up in the Zoom so well, but we had a good spread of representation. So that I think that that was successful. And attendees received a certificate of completion, and they are also eligible for 2 continuing education credits, 4 required for zoning and planning boards officials each year. And attendees noted a lack of infrastructure such as water, sewer, and transit as barriers to achieving density outside of their urbanized areas, including the DFAs. And they suggested that municipalities should work together with the county on strategic infrastructure connections and investments. So overall, the attendees got to meet each other and discuss what issues they were having in their municipalities, and I think everyone came away with more information than they had when they showed up. So I think it was good.
And I would just add that David West is spearheading conversations that I think you all were invited to called Strong Towns. The first of those is kicking off on Friday. And I think there may be 6 or 7 of them. So again, trying to have people get to know each other so we can build a community of people who can ask each other questions and make sure that we're all doing as much as we can around housing and land use in general to support each other.
Well, I think that's incredible. I think this is great to see the results of, many of us were recently at a candidates forum for those that are seeking re-election, and we talked about, sort of the role that the county can play in helping achieve some of these housing goals that are across the communities that we all represent. And my philosophy, and I think, Katie, and correct me if I'm wrong, is sort of being the chief convener, educator, collaborator, and sort of the nucleus to bring all of these communities together. So I think hearing that and hearing the result and the benefit of that is a great step. I would love for our local planning and zoning boards to have some sort of training like this be required outside of additional trainings that they do, because I think that this is the type of information that boards that people don't come with planning backgrounds to make planning decisions really need to understand the full implication of their decision making and how far they can go and what type of decisions that they can make and what type of decisions they really can't. So thank you for doing that, because I think that's a huge need that we have in our community to kind of level the zoning and planning board fields across all of our communities so that it doesn't feel different from one corner of the county to the other. as it relates to, just development or whatever the need would be to go to a planning or zoning board. So thank you, I guess, is my statement. Questions, Ann?
More of a comment, if I may. When I was doing home inspections, going to different areas around the county and talking to, because even new construction, I would get called in often to do a home inspection, which I'll just put the shout out. If someone's getting new, I don't do home inspections anymore, but if someone's even buying a new house, brand new house, good idea to get an inspection. Always find things. But I would talk to contractors and developers about, because I'd go to certain areas where they're doing more development. And that's, what I'd hear is that, well, it's much easier to do it here, because of the local planning board and the zoning and all the different things, that make it easier or harder. And so that was one of the things that I was able to learn. And I know you all see that as you're going around. And I would imagine too, this helps the different people from around the county talk to each other, and so probably make some connections where they wouldn't otherwise, and maybe think about what's going on in other municipalities. I'm sure that's probably part of what you're trying to do, right? That they can say, oh, well, we do this. Oh, we could change this, because if that makes it easier, or at least have similar things, because it is hard if they have to jump through these hoops there, but they can't build this house there. They'd have to build a different house there, or are you hearing any of that? I guess is my question from folks.
I know that the planners have had experiences that they shared with me, and I know that the zoning and planning board officials got to speak with each other. In the beginning, we had kind of an interactive panel where David was asking them questions about their experiences and what they thought their municipalities could do to help develop more housing. So they did get to hear each other's perspectives and ask questions during the presentation.
Well, good. Well, thank you for doing that. I know, gosh, I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago, there was a couple of meetings with the local planners, or maybe it was code officials. I think it was code officials. And they were trying to have something like once a year and like have a topic, but yet then give them time so they could network with each other. And I know that's really helpful to anytime you can get people together. So thank you for doing that.
I do have a question on another topic. Katie, you had shared with the legislators an email about the sort of the importance of a budget request that you have for a housing study and some additional professional assistance. And I just didn't know if we wanted to, again, because we don't always have as much time in our budget meetings, but to have a conversation here around that, or to see if we had any questions to Katie's email or additional, just wanted to have space for this conversation, because it is, I think, personally a critical piece to our long-term strategy. So just wanted to open up the floor for conversation, either Katie from you or Deborah, if you had any additional questions or follow-up, or other members of the committee.
No, I just, I didn't mean it to attack planning and sustainability in any way. It's just, I think we're in a budget cycle now where we're looking for every single thing that we can cut as we try to get ourselves in a position to meet what we're headed into in 2027. I think your email addressed the issues that I raised, and I think it'll be up to my colleagues on the legislature to decide how they want to vote.
Not trying to put anybody in a spot. Please don't take it that way. No,
I understand.
I figured it was a good space to have a conversation if more conversation was needed.
Yeah, so and I really don't have anything more to add to what I put in the email, but if people have questions, we're here to answer it. I will say that the housing snapshot that I talked about is really primarily focused on, are we achieving the goals of the 2017 housing strategy?
And we're not.
Well, we are
never
in a
do.
couple areas, like student housing, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But, we're coming to the end of our housing strategy, and so we do need another housing strategy to be able to guide our decision-making, and so it's kind of, it's time to do that, which is why the request, and I do understand you're under a lot of pressures, and I hope that my email explained things pretty clearly, but yeah, I think if you have any questions, this is a good opportunity to ask.
I think personally for me, one of the ideas and why I would really like to invest additional into this housing study, one, I think we have opportunity to partner with Ithaca Area Economic Development Funds, and their sort of housing study that they were looking at was put on hold to be able to have a more robust and well-funded housing study at the county. So collaborating across, planning and economic development agencies, but also really trying to focus and direct the housing study to be solution and results focused and clear suggestions and strategies on how to make a difference.
Achieve the goals that we put in the
rather
housing
than
study,
just
yes.
restating the problem, right? And so that's where I truly believe that based on all the RFP, RFQ, RFI, all the RF committees that I've sat on, the more money you're able to contribute to the consultant, the more, unfortunately, you're able to get out of that. And I know we have a well-equipped team internally, but we're also going to need some additional industry and professional resource to support that. But I really see this as an opportunity to prove that we can create a document that has suggestions that we start to really implement, as opposed to, hey, guess what? We need more housing. But like, how do we actually get there? That's what I'm hoping this report can create, and that's why I see an additional investment necessary. I've got Deborah, then Annie.
Yeah, the problem I have with this, of course, is that we can suggest all we want. We don't have land use regulatory authority. We have limited mechanisms for influencing development. We're still dependent on our constituent municipalities. I don't see a way around that.
I think we have to include those constituent municipalities in the development and the creation of a countywide strategy. I think that's where the IAED also has some opportunity to bring in municipal, private industry and other partners to that conversation and help in that implementation, because there's maybe some possible new levers that can be pulled in that arena. But I hear your concern. But we have to be thinking, again, as the convener and collaborator in chief in the conversation. So I'll go to Katie and then to Ann.
Well, just to address that a little bit, I think it's important for our municipal partners to have good data, market analysis, and understanding of the housing market, so that they can then go and do the changes that are suggested in this document. Right. And, our staff can help support and guide and do the research and obviously it's in municipal hands, but if they have a strong case from a strong housing strategy, it makes it easier for them to make the pitch to their elected officials as to why this is an important step to go through. Yeah, so I do think having some numerical targets, that does help. And it helps identify which niches we should focus on as well. It could result in a change to the IDA housing policy, for example, or how we fund things through our housing fund. So I do think there's some tangible, actual dollar things that the county can do in addition to the land use aspect, which is critical.
Thanks.
Ann?
Yeah, and I was going to say similar to what Katie just said, but from my perspective, working with my municipalities, that and I have three I regularly go to their meetings and different things, but for their comp plans, for their zoning, for adding accessory dwelling units to be permissible, all kinds of things, they reference this material. And so they use this not just in in all of those documents that they'll refer back to why this is needed. But they'll also use that for applying for grants. And they'll use it in their documents, they'll use it in talking to their people of their community. So I see this, in whether it's the nodal development, but they see this, and they need this because they can't do this by themselves. And I think over the past, and I've only been here 8 years, but I'll say just over the past 8 years, I've really seen more of interaction and working with the county more. And a lot of that has to do with the planning department reaching out more. Of course, we had COVID, so there's a lot of reaching out in that too, so that helped. But I've seen it, with the planning department reaching out to the municipalities because that's what we say, we don't have land use. And this is our lever. And we have been asking you, at least from the 8 years that I've been here, and you've been very responsive in doing that. And so I think it is working. I've seen it working in my districts. Right now, the Ulysses comp plan is being redone, and they are referencing, the house, and they're hoping, a new one gets done soon. The housing strategy.
Katie?
I just wanted to clarify too, I was chatting with David West before this meeting, and I did confirm that the $50,000 that we applied for CDBG planning grant money is actually in New York State's hands already, so it shouldn't be held up by the government shutdown. So that's a positive aspect.
That's good. Great.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Anything else for our friends from planning? Okay. If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. All right. Next up, we have arts, culture, and tourism. Nick. While Nick's getting settled in, I do want to make one clarifying comment. There was a recommendation in the budget by the county administrator to use STPB funding for the airport. I want to just clarify for the record that was coming, the suggestion was to come from the reserve account, not from the budgeted operating. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't foresee that gaining much traction, but I did want to make it clear because we had a couple of comments last night during our public forum that this would take away 70% of the funding from arts and culture grant organizations, et cetera, et cetera. That was not the recommendation. The recommendation was for reserve funding, but that reserve funding is
still not
is critical to have to be able to support in the event of a downturn for those organizations. But I did just want to clarify that one piece. Nick, you're up.
Thanks. I've got two resolutions for you for fall grants. I believe we have the community celebrations grants up first.
All right, so let me just move that real quick. If we could move the resolution award fall 2025 community celebrations grants ID number 13568, moved by Ann, seconded by Deborah. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, thanks. We have a slate of grants here for community celebrations. These are events that are free and open to the public. The guidelines and a sample application are available on our website. We had $11,050 available for this funding run, and we're recommending an award of just under $9,500 to the organizations listed in the resolution. Several of them are projects that have previously applied for or received funding, a few new ones in there as well. So happy to answer any questions the committee has.
Just to highlight, these cover the Village of Groton, City of Ithaca, Town of Newfield, City of Ithaca, Town of Enfield, Town of Dryden, and the City of Ithaca. Mike?
I just want to say I have to recuse myself from this one and the next one because of my regular job. And I do have to leave it at 4:15. I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about the community celebrations grants? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? And there's one recusal. All right. Next up, we have the resolution award of fall 2025 tourism advancement grants, ID number 13569. If I could have that moved by Veronica, seconded by Travis. Nick, you're up.
Thanks. Tourism advancement grants are intended to attract visitors to Tompkins County for overnight stays through either marketing campaigns or product development activities. For the fall round here, we had $33,720 available. Received 6 applications, and the committee reviewed them and recommended funding for all of them, either in whole or part of what they had requested. Similar to the celebrations grants, several of these you'll recognize from past years, including Ithaca Festival, the Shakespeare Festival, Science Center, an exhibit they're proposing, and the winter activities in downtown Ithaca. So happy to answer any questions the committee has about this slate of awards.
It's cool to see Hammerstone on there. I think it's neat as we look at diversifying our offerings and seasonal activities to see a carpentry school on there, and really trying to bring people to this area to get people training, along with all the other great work these organizations on this list are doing. I just thought that was notable and something we should call out and mention. So, questions for Nick on the tourism advancement grants? Okay. All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? And 1 abstention. Okay, that passes 5-0 to 1. Nick, any other updates?
We should have a full third quarter room tax update for next month. And yeah, other than that, we have a resolution moving through budget, heading to, I should say, budget, capital and personnel committee relating to room tax. So folks who are interested in that should check in on that meeting next week, Thursday.
Okay, so if that were to pass budget, that would need to come here for our debate and discussion. I don't want to preempt anything, but it'll be interesting to see what happens if one committee is in favor of something and another committee is not. But I do think we need to have in this committee a robust conversation, and I see Peggy Coleman is on the Zoom. Peggy is the president and CEO of the chamber, and also former lead guru of all things travel, tourism, Visit Ithaca. That I would maybe Peggy, in anticipation of this conversation again happening here in November, bringing together some of our hotel partners, some of our convention partners, et cetera, on what this potential impact would be. I know that this is something that I've explored based on the direction from some of my colleagues in the past and have gotten some interesting feedback and have a personal opinion that I'll reserve at the moment. But just want to understand, even though it potentially could be a 0.5% or 1% increase, what the impact may be and how it could potentially negatively or positively impact, visitation, overnight spend, attraction of group and tour business, which we rely heavily on certain times of the year.
Yes, absolutely. We will be there and happy to share. I did share at another budget committee meeting the impact we are already hearing now from meeting planners who are planning large group businesses. All things being equal, already our tax rate is higher than our competitors, and they're really starting to push back. So to have an additional increase would, in my opinion, be detrimental. But we will be there and happy to share the data and the case studies to be able to hopefully shine a light.
Okay, and I know that Nick has in the past prepared some information for the budget committee as well. Nick, you looked at rates across the state at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, we have some data that was collected last summer across the state, and then in lead up to this meeting, there's some data looking more closely at competitive destinations, not just within New York, but sort of across the country.
Okay. So I would encourage everybody to attend the budget committee meeting either in person or remotely when that's on the agenda. And budget meets
Next Thursday.
next Thursday at 9 a.m. from 9 to 11. So if folks are interested in that, please attend and participate in that conversation, because it ultimately, eventually, probably will come maybe here. Hopefully it doesn't, but maybe it does. I just gave it away. So Nick, thanks for your work on that. Peggy, thanks for being here, and we'll look forward to a more in-depth conversation around the topic in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up, last but definitely not least, Chris Spawn, our Director of Workforce Development. Chris, appreciate you being here and your patience. On the, well, first move your resolution, and then we'll take time for questions. So resolution, we have a budget adjustment, Tompkins County Workforce Development, new grant acceptance, Youth Employment Program, YEP, ID 13561, moved by Legislator Dawson, seconded by Legislator Koreman. So Chris, if you want to introduce this to us, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Hi, how's it going? Yeah, so this is an extension of the Summer Youth Employment Program that we have. So this will provide paid work, job experience, and training to at-risk youth ages 14 to 20 from September 25 to June 26. We were able to do this program because we had our OTR request last year was accepted from the legislator for another youth position. So this allows us to bring in this $350K to do programs like this. So we're very excited because this money is meant for area youth to make their lives better, and we have the capacity to do so. So this is also partly because, or mainly because of you guys too, that we're able to get this money. This money actually starts with OTDA and then goes down to DSS. So goes through the whole system. So we're really excited to work with Brittany. I've already met and we're ready to do stuff together. So we're really excited to expand upon that relationship with them because it makes too much sense for our people. Really, this is a win for the youth. We're talking about economic stability, skill development, so communication, teamwork, time management. It's building up their self-confidence. It's creating pathways for them. It's job experiences that they will be able to obtain. So a big issue youth face is mental health challenges. So a lot of this can address some of those challenges that youth have. It's empowering them. It's giving them social connections. It's really having them grow throughout the year. For the community, this is an economic contribution. We're bringing in this money to the area, so this goes towards different businesses. A lot of businesses that are on the commons, they are relying on this program too. So we are growing businesses while putting money in the pockets of these kids and families. And then also just for the employers, it's giving them like the new generation, youthful energy, a body to get in there and provide their new ideas.
And
so
they
we're
don't
really
have
excited.
to pay?
No, yeah, so we cover the wage and fringe for them, and they get paired up with one of our youth staff also. So they're receiving mentorship from an adult who's an expert in that area. They're like they are a caseworker. Along with that, they have a supervisor at the job site also. So like we have people at Green Star, so they're getting support from Green Star and then us also. So it's a well-rounded experience for them. So real excited about this program. And again, just wanted to thank you all. It's really, a lot of times it is life or death for people. If they don't get that job when they're 15 or 16 or that experience, it doesn't set them on the right path. And it really puts a strain on our whole system as a whole in the county. So they may be on the path to incarceration, more emergency services, they may need more long-term social support. So we're just very thankful for this committee and the legislator for the support that you give us, because it allows us to do our job better, and the county administration also, the support that they've given.
Well, this is revenue neutral for us.
Yeah, and is this new funds?
So this is
increased to previously?
Yeah. So this program's been around for past 3 years. So the first year it was only given to larger cities such as my hometown of Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo. So I advocated for extending it out to other cities because we are a city and we do have issues and we fall under the GIVE initiative, so we do have our challenges. So I bothered them for about a year every other month of just like, hey, any updates? How's that going? And then last year they were able to do it, but we got that money very late, and we didn't have Jordan, our transition workforce specialist. So we still did take in the money, and we were able to create job experiences for youth last year. So now we're coming into our second year of it with more time and an understanding of how the program can look. So, yes.
I can tell you in my role outside of the legislature as an employer, I had the opportunity to, not in this program, but and participate in a program where an individual was able to work with us and their wages were covered by the program. And it really allowed you to sort of open up the opportunity for these young adults to be able to do a project or something of interest, or something where, if, like, as a small business owner, you'd say, ooh, is it really worth it? You know what I mean? And so it kind of took the stress off of it, and I think it allowed the young individual and the employer to kind of have a more dynamic, collaborative learning experience. So it was very impactful. So as an employer, I'm a strong advocate of these programs, and I think the more experience we can get our young adults, the better off they'll ultimately be. So this is incredibly valuable work. So Chris, thanks for bugging them, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime for Tompkins.
Yeah.
We matter,
Exactly.
We may not be as big as the other cities, but we matter. Our people matter, especially our kids. So yeah, that's how we feel.
Illinois for cash.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Can I get a shirt for that? Is that in the budget? Illinois for cash, yeah.
We'll puff up for cat.
Yeah.
Those are on t-shirts.
That's from my cat.
Oh, okay. I love cats.
All right, well, this took a turn.
It did. I haven't even talked about the bills yet.
Yeah. Well, all those in favor of this resolution?
Oh, we have something on the floors.
All right, that passes unanimously. Let the budget adjusters adjust. Chris, anything else from your world? Will we have a minute or if you don't have it, it's okay.
No. The whole workforce development staff appreciates your support and everything, and we're trying our hardest every day to fulfill the mission of the county and everything. So we appreciate you.
Thanks for all you guys do.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to the end of our agenda. Any committee member reports or items for the good of the group?
Just quickly regarding housing at Village Grove and Trumansburgs, they're phasing, well, not phasing in, but the phase times for some of the townhouses to get complete. So they're working on those. I've gotten some tours of those, and I'm hearing there's another couple that are being completed. Now, they're just really rolling along.
That's great.
So they have the rental, the apartments done, some of the rental townhouses, and now I got a call that one was, some are done for the for sale townhouse, affordable, and they're all affordable. So people are really excited, to be able to get into those.
I did hear a little bit from INHS that the crossing in Varna, Creekside Crossing, which was partly received dollars from our Community Housing Development Fund. They're actually going to try to break ground and do some foundation work before the winter and try to get ahead of things. So they were excited to sort of be on a good schedule and good pace. So we're starting to see some good progress across these projects.
Great.
All right. Well, with nothing else to add, it is what time? 4:22, and we'll stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.